Hello everyone, my name is Leonardo and I'm going to present the results of our study entitled MultiTask Learning for Predicting Natural Flows, a case study Paraiba Sul River in Brazil. This is our agenda, an introduction, the computational model, data methods, results, and finally the conclusion. This is the Brazilian river basins. Here we have some huge basins such as the Amazon Basin and another important ones, the Paraná Basin and also the São Francisco Basin. In this paper, in this study, we'll focus on the Paraíba do Sul Basin. This is, although a small basin, this is an important one. So, the Paraíba do Sul River is a strategic river in Brazil. It flows through the most industrialized countries region, between the cities, the two biggest cities in Brazil, São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. And there are multiple uses of the water resources, and these multiple uses leads to some conflicts in the water of this river. For example, energy generation, water supply, about 12 million people, irrigation, forest conservation, and also drought and flow control policies. So we can see there are multiple uses of the same waters. So the research contributions of this study is to forecast the river flow 7 days ahead, simultaneously, in a simultaneous way, in 45 measure stations along this basin. Here we have a map of the river basin and some stations, and all the stations along this basin, and they are identified by numbers. And another contribution of this study is to assist the water management agencies to design some policies. So now I talk about the forecast models. The forecast models, they can be the conceptual models. They are based on hydrological mechanisms, and they depend on calibrations. In general, they solving some partial differential equations, and this can be a time-consuming task to calibrate the model. And also, these conceptual models, they are very sensitive to the inputs. These models, they use data from vegetation, meteorological data, satellite data, land cover, and those information, they are combined in the conceptual models. By other hand, there are the empirical models. They are data-driven approach that build a relationship to the input and the output. Some example, soft computing techniques, machine learning, and also deep learning. Here we have an example of a neural network used to predict the next value based on some historical data. The natural flow of rivers, they are quasi-periodic signal, which is contaminated by noises in different levels, different flow levels. And the core idea here is that is not essential to understand the internal structure of the physical processes. And then machine learning methods can be more practical and can be used instead of a conceptual model, used as a surrogate model. But there are some drawbacks. The seasonality and the time series, they are hard to learn in some cases. The noise also, and missing data. Considering some approaches, some data-driven models in the literature, there are ARIMA models, multi-layer neural networks, fuzzy systems, hybrid methods that combine machine learning and evolutionary algorithms, and also a type of neural network called long-short term memory neural networks that we have presented here in EPIA 2019. And considering these models, there are some drawbacks. And the main drawback is build one model for each time series, for each station. And we propose and we use in this study the multi-time series modeling or multitask modeling, and that uses the flow information through the river that can be useful to build prediction and combine the all-time series in a unique model. So, as I said, using LSTM neural networks is an alternative because they allow to reasoning about previous event. They have a natural architecture that is useful to predict sequences, and we can use also the multitask approach that combine information of time series from all stations in the river. And the goals of this paper is to provide a short-term forecast using the 45 stations in the river simultaneously, and we aim at predicting the 7 day ahead. We will call this strategy of MultiTask LSTM. And there is a trade-off between the increasing model complexity, but we can also have for this neural network a faster training times. Here, the stream flow model. We aim at to predict the 7 day ahead flow using 14 antecedent flow observations in a simultaneous way for the 45 stations along this river. And in a previous work, we have built 45 independent LSTM models, which was published in EPIA 2019. Here, the structure of the methods, the original time series is processed in training set data. This training set is organized in sequences according to the station and the antecedent day. This data is used as input data to the LSTM that, after trained, will provide predictions on the test set. This neural network has 730 inputs, 600 inputs, and 45 outputs, one output for each station. And all the predictions for all stations is performed for the same model. This is a cell of the LSTM neural network. This is the input gate and forget gate. The cell state is stored here, and finally the output gate. This is the mathematical model for the LSTM cell, and we have implemented this neural network in Python using a TensorFlow based implementation, and these cells, they are concatenated in a sequential structure to build the neural network model. So about the data. The data was collected from 45 stream flow stations in Brazil using the Brazilian services called HydroWeb, and the data was collected from 1990 up to 2016. The stations consider the data considers the stations on the main river of the basin. So there are some missing data. They are inputted using the median values, but the missing data percentage is about 1% in all stations. Here we have the missing data percentage showed in this bar plot. In order to assess the performance of this method, we used the mean average percentage error. Considering the LSTM settings, we have as suggested in the literature 200 LSTM cells using severe uniform initialization. The training set was the 75 first samples. We have used 100,000 epochs and Adams algorithm. The validation was 10%, and the test set the last 15% of the time series. Here we have some results. We compare the results of this study with the previous paper published in EPIA 2019. The previous results are shown in blue here, and the results of this paper are shown in orange. The single task LSTM produced an average error of 40%, and the multitask LSTM an average error of 22%. Here the same results, but using a line plot. We show that in blue the results for multitask LSTM, and here the running time, the total computational time in seconds. We can see that the LSTM, the total time to produce predictions for all stations was there is a big difference. The multitask LSTM produced a smaller training time, with a small average error. So the main conclusions of this paper: the multitask LSTM produced better results than the single task LSTM, and also a smaller percentage error, shorter training time. And our ongoing research now is using time series convolution neural networks, and also transfer learning, that using transfer learning from pre-trained models such as VGG16 and also VGG19 and the AlexNet neural networks. And the big issue or the challenge now is to produce a time series to image mapping. So I would like to thank our university, the two Brazilian agencies that funded our project, and the Brazilian Water Resources Agency for providing the data. And thanks for watching.